Tacos al pastor. Born in central Mexico in the 1930s, when Lebanese immigrants arrived in Puebla and brought their vertical spit roasting technique with them. Mexican cooks took that method and ran with it, swapping lamb for pork and adding guajillo chilies, achiote, and pineapple. The meat spins on a vertical spit called a trompo, getting crispy on the edges while staying juicy inside. Traditionalists insist the pineapple must be roasted on top of the spit so the juice drips down and caramelizes the meat. It's served on small corn tortillas with onions, cilantro, and a slice of that grilled pineapple. Fish tacos. These originated in Baja California sometime in the 1950s or 60s. The locals argue about which beach town invented them first. The classic Baja-style fish taco uses battered and fried white fish, usually cod or mahi-mahi, stuffed into a corn tortilla with shredded cabbage, crema, and a squeeze of lime. The cabbage isn't just for crunch. It also cools down the fried fish and adds freshness. Some places grill the fish instead of frying it. Either way, the contrast between the crispy fish and cool toppings is what makes it work. Carnitas. The name literally means little meats, and this style comes from Michoacan, where they've been making it for centuries. Carnitas are all about slow cooking pork in its own fat, until it's fall apart tender on the inside and crispy on the outside. Traditional carnitas are cooked in huge copper pots called calzos, and every part of the pig gets used. You can order it by the cut, whether you want maciza, lean, surtida, mixed, or even cuerito, skin. The meat is peeled into tortillas with nothing more than salsa, onions, and cilantro. Carne asada. This is the taco you'll find at backyard parties and street corners across northern Mexico and southern California. Carne asada just means grilled meat, usually thin cuts of beef marinated in lime juice, garlic, and spices, then charred over high heat. The key is getting a good sear on the outside while keeping it tender inside. It's chopped up and served on flour or corn tortillas with guacamole, pico de gallo, and grilled onions. In Sonora, they're known for their massive flour tortillas that are almost see-through when you hold them up to the light. Birria tacos. Birria started as a goat stew in Jalisco, slow-cooked with dried chilies and spices until the meat practically dissolves. Somewhere along the way, someone had the idea to dip tortillas in the fat skimmed off the top of the stew, fry them on a griddle with cheese, stuff them with meat, and serve the whole thing with a cup of consommé for dipping. The tortillas get crispy and golden, the cheese melts into the meat, and dunking the whole thing in that rich, spicy broth is basically mandatory. Korean barbecue tacos. This fusion happened in Los Angeles in the late 2000s, when Korean-American chef Roy Choi started serving bulgogi from a food truck in tortillas instead of lettuce wraps. Marinated short ribs or pork belly meet kimchi, sesame oil, and gochujang in a flour tortilla. It sounds like it shouldn't work, but the sweet-savory Korean flavors and the familiar taco format just fit. Now you'll find Korean tacos everywhere from New York to Austin, though LA still claims ownership. Tacos de canasta. These are basket tacos, because vendors literally steam them in cloth-lined baskets and sell them on street corners. Common in central Mexico, they're made early in the morning, with simple fillings like mashed potatoes, refried beans, or chicharron, then stacked in baskets where they steam together and get soft and a little greasy. They're sold by the dozen and eaten quickly, usually for breakfast or lunch. The tortillas absorb all the flavors and oils, so they're not crispy at all, but that's the whole point. Jackfruit tacos. Young green jackfruit has a stingy pulled pork texture when you cook it down, so it soaks up whatever marinade or spices you throw at it. Popular fillings include barbecue-style jackfruit or carnitas spiced versions with chipotle and cumin. Top it with cabbage, avocado, salsa, and you've got something that satisfies even if you're not vegan. It started showing up on trendy menus in the 2010s and hasn't left. Tacos dorados. Also called flautas or taquitos depending on where you are, these are rolled tacos that get fried until they're crispy and golden. They're usually filled with shredded chicken or potato, then fried in oil until the tortilla turns crunchy. You eat them topped with crema, lettuce, queso fresco, and salsa. They're popular across Mexico and in Tex-Mex spots, though every region has its own take on what goes inside and how thin to roll them. Tacos arabes. Tacos arabes use thin pita-like bread instead of corn tortillas, filled with shawarma-style marinated pork that's been roasted on a spit. The meat is usually seasoned with cumin, oregano, and thyme, rather than the sweet pineapple marinade of al pastor. They're served with a creamy chipotle sauce that ties everything together. The name literally means Arab tacos. Mushroom tacos. These have been around forever in Mexican cuisine, but got trendy recently as plant-based eating took off. Oyster mushrooms are the go-to, because they get crispy edges when you sauté them and have a meaty texture. Season them with garlic, epazote, and chilies, then pile them into tortillas with onions and cilantro. Some places grill them until they're charred and smoky. It's simple, earthy, and proves you don't need meat to make a great taco. Breakfast tacos. Texas claims these, especially Austin and San Antonio. They're exactly what they sound like. Scrambled eggs mixed with pretty much anything breakfast related. Bacon, chorizo, potatoes, beans, cheese, served on flour tortillas usually and eaten in the morning with hot sauce. Some people argue they're just burritos cut in half. Either way, they're a morning staple across the state and have been since at least the 1950s. Peking duck tacos. These showed up in upscale Chinese restaurants across New York and Hong Kong around the same time as Korean tacos. Instead of the traditional thin pancakes, the crispy duck skin and tender meat get wrapped in small flour tortillas with hoisin sauce, cucumber, and scallions. Some chefs add a sriracha mayo or pickled vegetables to bridge the cultural gap. Jerk chicken tacos. Caribbean jerk seasoning, that fiery blend of Scotch bonnet peppers, allspice, thyme, and garlic, made its way into tacos through Jamaican communities in cities like Miami and London. The chicken gets marinated overnight, then grilled until it's charred and smoky, pile it into tortillas with mango salsa, coleslaw, and a drizzle of jerk mayo. The tropical sweetness of the mango cools down the heat from those Scotch bonnets. Beach towns in Jamaica now serve these to tourists, even though it's a relatively new thing for the island. Chapulines tacos. These grasshopper tacos are a pre-Hispanic tradition from Oaxaca that never went away. The chapulines are toasted on a comal with garlic, lime juice, and salt until they're crunchy and savory. They taste nutty and citrusy, kind of like popcorn if popcorn had legs. You'll find them at street markets across southern Mexico. The crunch is the whole point, so they're usually piled onto fresh tortillas with guacamole and salsa verde. High in protein and sustainable to farm, they're actually being pushed as the future of food, though they've been on the menus in Oaxaca for thousands of years. Cactus tacos. Nopales are thick, flat leaves of the prickly pear cactus, and they've been eaten in Mexico since Aztec times. After you remove the spines, the petals are sliced into strips and grilled or boiled until they're tender. They have a slightly slimy texture similar to okra and a tart green bean-like flavor. Nopales are usually cooked with onions, tomatoes, and jalapenos, then served in tortillas with cheese and salsa. They're super nutritious, packed with fiber and vitamins, and they're making a comeback as people look for more plant-based options. You'll find them at markets across Mexico and the southwestern United States.